Good evening, dear compatriots. The Unified Information Center continues its work from Yerevan. Let me first introduce to you the situation at the front line. Today, early in the morning, Azeri armed forces resumed large-scale offensive, especially in the northern direction and in the southern direction as well, to a somewhat lesser vector, not towards the Araxes Valley. On both directions, they tried to develop stubborn offensive, following intensive artillery preparation, followed by infantry with minimal use of armored vehicles, with big density formations, which our armed forces has mowed down and pushed back, standing steadfast. The losses and the casualties in the infantry today and yesterday of the Israeli armed forces are substantial. There is a new tactic that seems to have been adopted, especially when attack takes heights. High-density infantry is being used, undescribable, like we often see in video footage. We do not publish everything, though. Something that we've seen often only in the movies so far. At this point, the clashes continue. The intensity is slightly less towards the night. Through the day, we also saw Azeri information published about. Initially, it was disoriented. They were first referring to Karavajar, then the Armenian border, then Armenia per se. They were somewhat at a loss with their geography, that they targeted the rocket installation on combat duty, which we want to emphasize adds and legitimizes respective response actions by the Republic of Armenia, targeting similar installations of military significance in the territory of Azerbaijan. Through the day, the Defense Army communicated that the Azeri armed forces have targeted one of our hospitals, which should become the focus of attention throughout the world, so that they witness how medical institutions are being targeted. Although we're not at all surprised by this, because we've seen that done several times by them. If they target a church, they could also equally target a hospital. In general terms, the situation at the front line was as I described through the day. Air Force was also used by the Israeli armed forces to no great avail in their actions. As a rule, the summary data is presented at the platform of the Unified Information Center in the morning. Before I take your questions, I would like to hand the floor over to the High Commissioner of Diaspora, Mr. Zareh Sinanyan. Thank you. Good evening, brothers and sisters here in Armenia and in the diaspora. The Turkish Azeri and terrorist aggression from day one onwards has caused an unprecedented mobilization in the diaspora. Our compatriots will be realizing the life and death moment for the land of Armenia and the difficulty of the situation for all of us, and the high stakes have all converged on the single objective along several lines. Humanitarian assistance comes first. As of today, about 700 metric tons of humanitarian assistance from various countries of the world have been transported to Armenia, Russia, United States, France, other countries in Europe, Ukraine, Javak, stability, and this assistance keeps pouring in. At this point in time, let me tell you that 100 tons of assistance is on standby in the United States, ready to be transported to Armenia, although Turkey has prohibited its airspace for even humanitarian assistance destined for Armenia, which is why this is deferred. Humanitarian flights are arriving every day from Russia and over land, which is what we are very grateful to you, dear compatriots. It's very important for this work to be coordinated, which at this point is the case, but the more coordinated, the better, of course, especially for the information of our compatriots in the Western Hemisphere. I have mentioned many times that there is a certain type of humanitarian assistance which is simply meaningless to be sent over from the United States or Australia or elsewhere, which is why I call upon to everyone to work with our office, the Office of the High Commissioner on Diaspora. Our contacts can be easily found almost on every social media platform, Facebook, our own website, and we will provide guidance for you in this respect. As for financial assistance, this is mostly done through the donations to the All Armenian Fund. As you may know, to this point, an unprecedented sum has been donated, about 120 million US dollars de facto in cash. There are large amounts pledged, which will have to be tallied as a result of the Sunday telethon. This assistance and the significance thereof cannot be overestimated, because we're not yet aware how long this war will take, and naturally you may understand the damage incurred to the land of Armenia, the infrastructure. Your assistance is directly determining the success of our efforts. There is also large masses of our compatriots who want to be present in their motherland, and to come up with their immediate assistance in this struggle. We have many teams of medical professionals, mostly from Russia, United States, and Europe, and this flows are still coming in. We encourage that. You may be aware of the numbers of casualties and losses. We need serious assistance. Our medics valiantly put up a fight for the life and health of every Armenian fighter, but they're still human and their capacity is limited. So the more assistance coming this way, the better. I'm very glad that our international health organizations of Armenian origin, such as AMIC, are organizing teams that keep coming in. Everyone else with relevant skills or capacity and potential who are arriving to Armenia or intend to arrive in Armenia, I request please cooperate and coordinate your efforts and intentions with the Office of the High Commissioner for Diaspora, so that your capacity is put to good use. In the West, not only in the West, the entire diaspora, it's very important to also contribute to the formation of the public opinion and the role of our compatriots in it. Today, Turkey and Azerbaijan have disrupted the whole media, the public opinion, with fake news, the fake narrative as to what's transpiring in reality in Artsakh and what are the origins of this conflict. And our main counter-offensive to this is the work carried out from the diaspora, very intensive, very effective, and we do feel urgent need for it. The Turkish and Azeri governments have also retained large numbers of lobbying organizations in different states, working with various levels of governments therein, presenting the reality in the distorted manner. This is, of course, countered by Haidat groups and our lobbying efforts. Our compatriots are also very active in the press. We have an issue with the press to counter the Azeri and Turkish presentation of the reality which does not correspond to the facts on the ground. Everyone works in the diaspora, the bloggers, social media activists, people with public reputation. This work has to be continual and persistent in order for us to arrive at the victory we all want so much. There are rallies and demonstrations everywhere. I am certain our compatriots are following the developments. They see that all the way from the United States to all the states in Europe, almost on a daily regime, there are protests, rallies and demonstrations. There are also initiatives with various lawmaking bodies, whether local, state, regional or federal, in a whole number of countries in order for us to attain two most important objectives. That is the recognition of the independence of Artsakh by the international community in various states, and second, condemnation of the Turkish Zareh and terrorist groups' offensive against Karabakh. We ascribe great importance to this work, and of course we welcome all the sporadic efforts of our compatriots in this direction. I would like to reiterate my gratitude to all of you for everything you've been doing, and mention that we do need your assistance greatly, more today than ever. It's clear today that the Armenians in Armenia and the Armenians in the diaspora are the one and the same. They pursue the same interest, and this interest today is to defend and save Artsakh, save our nation from the genocide, and of course we shall win all together. Thank you. Yes, Mr. Sinanyan, together in unity we shall triumph. I shall answer some questions that arrived electronically at this point. From Hetk. Azerbaijan is using AN-2 airplanes converted into UAVs. How many of such aerial vehicles have been shot down to this day? Very often, since such UAVs, and especially AN-2 planes used as UAVs, are shot down before they are in proximity with our border, it would be difficult to quantify this because they could be shot down at various distances and altitudes. What's the significance of the UAVs attacking or doing reconnaissance of our air defense systems? Both. Initially, they were used to locate and identify our air defense systems in order for the attack drones to follow in their wake. But there have been cases when they had exploded with great capacity, so they have been using some recon UAVs as attack ones as well. Are the Chinese modifications these UAVs? Hard to say, I cannot say that. But the AN-2s have been used ubiquitously of late everywhere. Armed Day, Mr. Hovhannisyan, was the situation along the entire length of the border? Like I said, essentially the situation has been outlined. There are crossfights, even at this point, not as intensive as in the morning. What's the situation in Vartanis now? Did the enemy get adequate response hit or not? Please do not get into these details of the tactics and particular strikes. Rest assured that any encroachment of the enemy will get a worthy response where and when it belongs. Second, the Armenian TV channel, it was mentioned today that two captive POWs from Azeri part have been captured. Is there any information about our soldiers in captivity? Unfortunately, I cannot convey to you information about the state of our boys. You know that the Azeri party does not share any information like that. The Red Cross does not operate there, and I have to reiterate a third time that even their own bodies they do not even attempt to remove. We are encountering absolutely inhuman attitudes by Azerbaijan towards their own casualties and bodies, never witnessed before. Even they haven't done this so far. This is an indicator that leads to certain conclusions. We could discuss that later. As for POWs that we hold, yes, they do exist. As for the numbers, the condition and the location, I do not have that information at this point. This was the list of the questions. Follow our unified information platforms, newscasts, stay tuned, and of course abide by the COVID pandemic rules that we try to uphold, trying to reduce its spread.